So, I didn't watch all of Dynamite tonight or last night, but I did watch Blood and Guts. That's probably what anybody's going to be watching outside of a few other things they might go back and watch. But I thought Blood and Guts 2023 between the Golden Elite and the BCC, the Blackpool Combat Club, was good. Thought, thought it was really good. Um, of course, it was violent. You're going to expect that, but I don't think anybody expected it to be as violent as it got. Yeah, excuse me, at times. So anyway, the match starts out because it's basically War Games. It's under a different name, more hardcore style. It starts out with um, Kenny Omega and Claudio Castagnoli starting out with each other, and it's just a regular back and forth. The fans are chanting, "Use the other ring." Claudio teases he's going to do it, but then he doesn't. It just gives a high knee to Kenny and stuff. And then the timer goes off after 5 minutes, and out comes Pac. Out comes Pac. And you can already tell, even when they did the picture in picture, and I'll get into that in a moment, that there was going to be a little dissension. Like something is not clicking between Pac and Claudio. But anyway, they have the advantage for a bit, and then out comes Hangman Adam Page, and both him and Kenny start taking advantage as well against Claudio and Pac, and they kind of show why, and they kind of harken back to their tag team run as tag team champions, and then after that out comes John Moxley, for the BCC. And this is when things get really crazy because the moment he enters that cage, he starts stabbing in the forehead Hangman Adam Page with a screwdriver, and then he does it over, and then he pulls out a fork and starts jamming it on Kenny. He starts jamming it into Kenny's head, and then he goes back over to Page and tries to jam the fork into Page's stomach. Then he hands the fork off to Claudio, and they have the advantage for a little bit. Then out comes, I think, Nick Jackson. He's the next one out, and he kind of, gets the jump on Moxley. Because what Moxley does before Nick comes out is he goes underneath the ring and brings out a bucket. And you're thinking, what's he got this white bucket for, right? And what he does is he dumps it out, and we see it's shards of glass, just shards of a variety shard of glass. Just bits and pieces here and there. Anyway, like I said, Nick comes out and he hits a missile dropkick on Moxley, who lands in the glass, but thankfully he has his vest on and his shirt on, so he's protected a little bit from the glass. But then he ends up putting Nick into the glass as a receipt. So basically they go back and forth. Then out comes Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta comes out next. And he brings out a chair, and he's helping him get the advantage and stuff. Then out comes Matt Jackson, who helps him even up the score again, and all that. And then out comes Takeshita, Kinshu, or out comes Takeshita. I'll put it that way. Out comes Takeshita, and with Don Callis, who goes on to commentary because that's what he used to do with Kenny. Now he's doing it with Takeshita. And he helps him get the advantage a little bit as well. And as well, he's helping him get the advantage. Moxley goes to the outside and, on the other side of the ring, because, two rings, War Games and all that. He goes to the other side of the ring, goes underneath the other side of the ring. Okay, let me rewind. He goes to the outside on the second ring, goes under the second ring, and he pulls out because here's the thing. We've seen Moxley use barbed wire. We've seen him use skewers in this kind of match because he's been in this match, I think, once before, twice before, something like that. But we've seen him use barbed wire, skewers, glass, of course, now screwdrivers, forks. We've seen all that, right? What he brings out, it's gotten everybody talking. Because what he brings out from underneath the second ring is a bed of nails. And it don't matter whether or not you've sharpened those down or kind of rounded those out, sharpened around it, because nails regularly, the points, they hurt. They hurt. There's no doubt. They hurt. And how do I know? As a little kid, you know, it's always stuck to me. When we were at my grandparents one time, I think I was like 11, 10, something years old. I don't remember. And I'm on this little tree to look over a fence because my grandma used to have this fence in between her backyard and what we call the orchard, backyard for the neighbors, on the other side, on the other side of Thomas Avenue in Hayward, California. So anyway, I'm looking up, and I didn't even notice it, didn't even register with me at first, and I stuck my hand into a little bit of a nail, and I'm like, what? And I pull it out, and thankfully it didn't go all the way. It's just like the tip went a bit, and then I pulled it out, and of course, I think I got looked at or something. I got a Band-Aid on it or something like that, but I stuck it on there. I was like, I pulled it out. I was like, huh? It's like, again, didn't register to me because I was more interested what was going on the other side of the fence. Anyway, nails are sharp. There's no doubt. They are very, very sharp. Anyway, basically, Moxley brings out this bed of nails, which obviously have been roundly sharpened. And what I mean by rounded, in other words, they're still pointy and they still can hurt if you land on them, but they're not going to puncture as worse, or as badly as regular nails would. So, yeah, he brings out a bed of nails, sets it in the corner, tries to throw Omega into it. Omega blocks it, but then Moxley kind of like, I guess you could put it, if you go back and watch the match, he basically, I think, kicks him into it. Like, he kind of pushes him, with his feet, back first into it. That. And then him and I think Claudio whip him into it, or him and Takeshita whip him into it. And then he puts the bed of nails down, he lies the bed of nails down, and then he slams Omega into it. But then, as this is happening, out comes Kota Ibushi. Making his AEW debut. And basically, Will Yuta goes up to attack him, gets out of the cage, goes up the ramp to attack him. Bushi just knocks him down. He gets in the ring, kind of takes his time, kind of, playing to the crowd, not really in a hurry. But when he gets in there, he just takes his right hand and boom, knocks down most of the members of the BCC. And he's standing in the first ring, and he's looking across to the second ring where Moxley is, standing on Omega's hand, who he has jammed between his foot and the bed of nails. And basically, Moxley gives him the double deuce, if you know what I mean. And this gets Ibushi to get into the second ring and basically start beating down on Moxley, to the point that as he's kicking him, he kicks him back first into the bed of nails, and then he ends up doing a moonsault on Moxley, who's still lying on the bed of nails, and it looks like Ibushi kind of caught himself a little bit on the nails, but pretty much when Ibushi got in there, that's when the match officially began, because it's like any War Games match, it's submissions, except for WWE where they had pinfalls instead. And while this is going on, Yuta and I think it's Matt Jackson, go up to the top of the cage, and they're fighting up there. Matt hits a couple of Northern Lights suplexes on Wheeler, who takes the fourth one, turns it into a DDT, because if he hadn't, he was going to go right off that cage, and everything. Be like the third or fourth person to do that in the history of this variation of the War Games. And instead, after he DDTs Matt, he gets out. He just climbs down. He's like, "Screw this shit! I'm going back down. I'll get back in the cage." And when he gets back down and everything, it looks like the BCC is getting the advantage. But then Matt, before he gets back down, has this bag. Obviously, he had this bag up there. We didn't know what it was. And as soon as he opens it, he goes over to where the second ring is, and he dumps. He basically dumps out and rains down, from this bag, a lot of thumbtacks. And he's doing this. Well, it looks like it's Nick and Paige who are about to get, I guess, double power drive or something, some kind of, double power bomb power driver by Claudio and Pac. And what happens is they get distracted by all these thumbtacks raining down to the point that they get backflipped right into them, and Pac took most of it. Pac took most of it. Anyway, the match is going back and forth even towards the end, and it looks like the BCC is on the verge of winning because they basically locked all the Golden Elite into submissions, but just enough to where they don't give up. They let them go, but it's enough to wear them down and basically single out Kenny Omega. And it's like they're going to take Kenny out, right? So they whip Kenny into one corner of the first ring, and it looks like they're going to take turns, just beating the hell out of him, just running into him with the moves, or the corner moves. And, when it comes, and then, so after Takeshita does his move, and then I think Pac does his, basically Kenny then uses Pac as a shield, and Claudio ends up nailing Pac with a European uppercut, and then that's enough to pretty much cause Pac to be, get upset and angry, and basically say, screw you guys, I'm out of here, gives them the double bird, if you know what I mean, then gets out of the ring, gets under the ring, grabs a pair of bolt cutters, opens the cage because it got locked up now, because the war game, the Blood and Guts officially began, opens the cage and walks out. He literally walks out of the match and everything. And basically this is when the BCC's chances of winning start going downhill, because then Don Callis notices, oh crap, this is not good, this is not going the way we were hoping for. So what does he do? He gets off of commentary, goes down, and basically signals to Takeshita, yeah, get out of there, get out of there where you can, save yourself. And he just basically left the BCC to the Wolves. He left them to the Wolves, to where they grabbed a shoe with many nails on it, jammed Wheeler Yuta's face into it, handcuffed Moxley to the first ring, made sure, and I think they did the same with Claudio and everything. And then after they shoved Yuta's face into the shoe covered, into the nails on the bottom of the shoe, the many nails on the bottom of the shoe, they end up wrapping a chain around his neck in between the cage and the ropes of the second ring. And Moxley, because Yuta is passing out, he's getting choked out, he's getting passed out. And Moxley, who's like in the middle, is in that middle truss between both rings, because he's handcuffed, says, we give up, we're done. Because he's saving Yuta. He's saving Will Yuta from permanent damage, and then that's how the match ends. And to me, what this does, kind of do from a multi-layer perspective, is it does set up the possibility that right now Claudio doesn't know who his opponent's going to be at Death Before Dishonor. It was supposed to be Kingston, then it was supposed to be Briscoe, but due to a commitment in Japan and an injury, now he's got to find somebody else, and it looks like it's going to be Pac that might be his opponent. And Moxley giving up to save Yuta. That's going to be interesting where that goes. Whether this causes Moxley and the BCC to turn on Yuta because he's always been the weak link, or it just means maybe, Moxley they go after Don Callis, because Don Callis, asked for Takeshita to come and leave the match, and he was like the last, visage of hope they needed. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting where they go from here, and they are definitely building to Omega and Takeshita, possibly at All In. And I'm thinking after that, we're probably going to get Omega and Callis. If the stipulation is Omega, that if Omega wins that match, he gets Callis at All Out. But we'll see. But I thought it was good, and that's all I really want to say on it. Give me your thoughts, guys. What did you think of Blood and Guts 2023? And I am out.